The next map we're going to go over is called a double bubble map. And this is a map that's used for comparing and contrasting. So here's what it looks like. You've got two bubbles, big bubbles on each side, and then you've got some bubbles in between them and some bubbles behind on each side of them. The item here that you're going to compare, one of the two things goes here and the other one goes here. And in the center, connected to both, are the similarities. Similarity 1, similarity 2, similarity 3. On the edges would be a difference. Now, the key to this map is that whatever difference you talk about up here, you must also talk about up here. So if you have a difference A, you talk about it on one side, you must also address that difference on the other side. Otherwise, you're not explaining how they're different. You're just doing a bubble map that explains one of the things. This is about how they are different. So difference B goes here, maybe midway down, and then over on the other side, difference B is midway down. Difference C goes here, difference C goes here. Whatever you have on this side, if you have anything, the number of bubbles you have on this side, you must also have the same number of bubbles on this side. That's one of the rules of this map. So let me show you an example here of a map. Here's our map, and I'm going to compare grilled cheese sandwiches with peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. So a grilled cheese sandwich, well, what's the same? Well, they're both sandwiches, right? And they are both easy to make. And kids love them. Those are things that are in common. Now, there are a lot of things that these have in common. So you could continue this as long as you wanted. And that's why these maps are great. You're not constricted in your thinking because you can add to the map in any way. Let's talk about how they're different. Well, a grilled cheese is salty or savory, but when you add jelly to a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, it's actually sweet and savory. So that's one thing that's different. Another thing that's different is that a grilled cheese, since it's grilled, is going to be hot. You have to do an element of some kind of cooking with it. But peanut butter and jelly is room temperature. Peanut butter and jelly is really good with milk. Grilled cheese might be good with milk, but it's really good with tomato soup. So in that way, they're different. Remember, if you address temperature on one side, you have to address temperature on the other. If you address what it's good with on one side, you have to address what it's good with on the other. So that's the rule for this map. Generally, it's better for any of these maps not to use the template, but instead draw them as the thoughts come to you. And this is really important for when we use this later for reading textbooks, because you don't know if there's going to be 3 things that they have in common. Maybe there's only 2 things the author has talked about. This map allows you to do that, so it's much better to do the words first, and I'll show you how to do that. We're going to compare and contrast Oreo cookies with chocolate chip. So those are our 2 things. We're going to write them and then draw our bubbles. What's the same about these? Well, they're both cookies, so you write the word cookie, you draw your bubble, and then you connect it. And it goes to both of them because it's something they have in common. They're also both yummy. That's, of course, my opinion. You draw the word, you write the word, you draw the bubble, and you connect it. I could go on and on with how they're the same, but I'm going to talk about differences next because an Oreo cookie has a cream filling, and a chocolate chip cookie has big chunks of chocolate. So those are things that they're different, and I've addressed this, but basically I'm talking about how they're made or their ingredients, right? So if you address it on one side and then circle it and attach it, you have to address it on the other side and circle it and attach it. An Oreo, most Oreos are the same size. I know they have different sizes, but they're going to be consistent from cookie to cookie to cookie. A chocolate chip cookie, though, those can be any size. You can see humongous ones and you can see teeny tiny ones. Oreos, you got to get them from a store because they've got that Oreo stamp on them. It's a trademark. But a chocolate chip cookie, you can bake those at home, and they're even better then. Even more yummy. If you address it on one side, you have to address it on the other. So some rules to this, or some things that I can tell you that can help make this easier to read later. And that is that when you do your differences, try and make these kind of like they're in a column rather than circling around. If you circle them around this first bubble, it becomes really dicey trying to figure out, is the one here, is it belong to both of them or not? So if you keep this kind of like this as a column of circles, it will help later for when you get to doing these for really difficult level textbooks. The other rule, as I have tried to stress, is that if you address something as a difference on this side, you must address it as a difference over here. And generally, it's going to be easier to read later if you keep those kind of at the same line of the paper. Here's another example, and you can see that I have 3 differences here, so I have 3 differences here. I've addressed gender here, so I've addressed gender here. I've addressed age here, so I've addressed age here. I've addressed hair here. I've addressed hair or lack thereof here. This is the way to do a double bubble map, and it's for comparing and contrasting. And you do not, I forgot to tell you this, you have to have the same number on the sides, but you do not have to have the same number in the centers. Hope this helps, and I will see you for our last map in the next video.